The speakers to come. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to this early session about next generation electrified vehicles. I am Salima Jeriban from CINEA, and I'm moderating this session with Faye from Bosch. So what is the purpose of today? So cities, they are becoming bigger, smarter, and so we have this new trends leads to new opportunities to make new vehicles. So those vehicles have a new design, more specific to urban use, either for passenger or for goods. And so the projects that are presented today, they have the common rule of proposing a new design for right size, sustainable and affordable zero tailpipe emission vehicles. So the agenda of this morning, it is first we will have 3 projects, LEONARDO, Reflective and SOLUTIONSplus. Then we will have the Q&A session at the end of those 3. I will ask you to, when you have a question, to ask for the microphone, because this is a hybrid, so people that are outside of the meeting room, if they want to hear you, you need the microphone. Then we will have a coffee break, and we will have the presentation of URBANIZED and Multi-Mobility after the coffee break, with again a Q&A session at the end. So I would like first to welcome for Leonardo Michelangelo Santogolino. He's a researcher in the Department of Industrial Engineering of Florence in Italy.
Hear me? Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you for your kind presentation. I hope to provide an overall picture of the LEONARDO project that is now at its 3rd year of activity. I begin with an overall project presentation. We as University of Florence in Italy are coordinating the LEONARDO project with an overall budget of 2.2 million euros, with almost 90% of the European Commission contribution. We, together with URBANIZED from Belgium, are managing the project. With FUFO in Germany are dealing with the safety-related aspects of the vehicle and circulation. Together with Techniker, we are dealing with the control electronics of the vehicle that is here with us today. And Prosumer Lab is in charge of the communication part of the project, while we have 3 different partners that deal with 3 different demonstrations in 3 different sites. One is ELAT from Israel, ASL Roma 1 from Italy, in Rome, will deal with the demonstration in Rome. Then we have ElectricMobility for the demonstration in Palermo, in the southern part of Italy, while FNN Composite is our vehicle manufacturer. UNIDIT is in charge of the demonstration and organization of the demonstrations, while VAT from Poland deals with the structural testing, both numerical and experimental, of the structure of the vehicle. Does not go ahead. Don't know why. This works, but this does not work. How can I proceed? Sorry, just? Ah, okay. can present the vehicle. Or else, yeah, it's in the subsequent slides, so I can proceed. The vehicle is, what we want to achieve in Leonardo is to develop a new microvehicle which is based on the smart fusion of kick scooter and monowheel, or else the vehicle has the aspects of a monowheel, of a kick scooter. It has a deck, it has a steering column, but the way it is ridden by the user is like a monowheel, or else the steering column is pushed or pulled to accelerate and brake, like a monowheel or a Segway. What we want to achieve in this project is also to include the directly safety criteria during the development process of the vehicle. And we want also to demonstrate the working principle of the vehicle in 5 different sites, which are Rome, Eilat, Palermo, and 2 other sites that have been selected by public tender. And in these pilots, we will have 150 vehicles that will be used by hundreds of users for several weeks in order to demonstrate how this vehicle can change micromobility in terms of user acceptance. We have several specifications for these vehicles. I already said acceleration and braking. Okay, acceleration and braking by the steering column, and also to have a trolley mode in which the vehicle can be used as a trolley. Okay, perfect. The vehicle can be used also as a trolley to easily move by walking in plazas and shops, to lower the efforts for the user to carry the vehicle with them. We want to reach a low mass. The objective is 10 kilos to lower the efforts for intermodality. For example, for lifting it on the buses, on trains, on the trunk of a car, or for example, to go in the upper part of an office, for example, by steps. And we want to also include an auxiliary battery pack that increases the travel range of the vehicle in a battery sharing scheme, so that the users that do not use micromobility because of the limited travel range can use it because of the increased travel range. We want also to interface with the user to get both travel data and auxiliary battery usage to determine the user acceptance of these new technologies. I use a video just to explain some aspects of the vehicle. We are in the first demonstration site. We see Rome. We organized a conference. We have our project coordinator, Professor Dario, which explains some elements of the different prototypes that have been produced. We have the control electronics and the vehicle behind our colleague. Here we have the manufacturing process of the vehicle that is fully in composite material. And the processes are derived from the aeronautic sector. We also can have a look at the different elements that are produced and the painting of the elements. And then we have also our colleagues from Spain in Technica that deal with the testing of the control of the vehicle. Our colleague moves in trolley mode and rides the vehicle in the facility, then pulls the steering column to brake, and then once again shifts to the trolley mode, and then exits from the screen. Then we have the 5 different prototypes that have been proposed, and then we have our coordinator that travels in their own conference on the latest concept of the vehicle. Okay. So I go to the presentation of results. For what regards safety, we know that changes in the micromobility sector in terms of circulation for e-scooter are continuous, and we periodically monitor these changes in the European regulations to include the latest advancements directly inside the developed prototypes. We also investigate the nature of scooter-related accidents and injury levels in Europe, not only for electric scooters, but also personal light electric vehicles in general. And we also use surveys from users in different schemes like sharing or private vehicles to determine which are the critical points for the adoption of micromobility at a wider scale. During the project, we determined a vehicle safety concept, which includes a sounder, lighting devices with direction indicators at the front, a pneumatic tire and large diameter to increase stability, an additional foot brake that are not mandatory in the whole European countries. In addition, we want to obtain detailed results from observations in the pilots that can better enhance our prototype, our Leonardo vehicle. Regarding vehicle development, we started from a conceptual design and embodiment, where we have an hubless motor, where we wanted to include the fixed the fixed battery pack and the electronics directly inside the hubless motor, and the shared battery can be included inside the steering column. This was what we wanted, not what we achieved. Also because the price after the COVID pandemics of the components increased dramatically. And for example, the hubless motor from the foreseen price before the COVID pandemic of 500 euros shifted to 2,000 euros. So we had to try to find out a more sustainable, economically sustainable solution. And we derived a concept that was made in aluminum, that was tested also from a numerical perspective on an experimental scale, but the real problem was that it was very heavy. So when FNN and Compositi joined the partnership, we shifted to composite materials and tested all the vehicles according to the newly introduced EN 17128. And then we achieved 5 different prototypes that you see here in the row. Also, the platform and charging stations for battery sharing are particularly important in this project. As you can see here, during the demonstration activities, the volunteers use the Leonardo app to unlock the vehicle, but also to unlock the charging stations that let users pick up and leave a shared battery that is wirelessly charged inside these stations. And these shared batteries can be included on the front of the vehicle that we have here. In addition, the charging stations are positioned in several points of Rome and Palermo as of now, but will be also in the other sites that are included in the project. Regarding the demonstrations, in fact, we selected 2 additional cities to perform the demonstrations, Madeira and Zagreb. We had a lot of work to prepare all the pilots in terms of logistics, or else where the kick scooter can be taken by the users, or for example, where the charging stations are positioned in the city. We have aspects related to the vehicle booking, communication, their own conference organization, and then the vehicle insurance to let users safely ride the vehicle in the different cities. As you can see here in the picture, in the video that is almost a picture, we can see the first Leonardo vehicles traveling in Rome, in particular on the so-called San Pietrino type of pavement, which is peculiar of the Italian capital. And if the vehicle can withstand the San Pietrino, it can withstand any type of pavement. And another video of 2 vehicles that are moving in Rome. In particular, in Rome, we have that the employees from ASL Roma Uno will be asked as volunteers to fill questionnaires in 2 different moments. One in the middle of the experiment when they pick the vehicle and use it, and one, an additional questionnaire at the end of the experiment. As you can see here, from the red part of the graph, since the demonstration started in Rome and Palermo in January, we have some partial results, 11 results, while and a complete set of responses from some users. And at the moment, the users are quite satisfied about, for example, acceleration and braking performances. Let's hope that this trend is maintained during the project. Then, for the current status, we have currently 4 vehicles in Rome and 1 in Palermo, but I can confirm that by February we will have additional 40 in Rome and 10 in Palermo. As you can see here, this is a second batch of 20 vehicles that have been shipped in the latest days to Rome. We have additional 100 to produce for the other sites, which are Eliat, Madeira, and Zagreb. We gained during the project strong synergies with the Life2M and IMO project that are funded under the LIFE program and the ERDF program of the European Commission. For the specification, we achieved acceleration by steering column movement. We achieved a low mass for the vehicle, which is now 11.2 kilos, but can be further decreased, also because the deck is very long compared to our needs. We can also exclude some elements from the prototype and also decrease the weight of some electronic components. We also have the possibility to include an auxiliary battery pack, and we also developed the platform for data collection on travels, while including also safety criteria directly inside the vehicle to be developed. Now, for the expected impacts, for sure we will have an environmental impact because the vehicle favors intermodality with a low mass and a battery sharing that increases the actual travel distance from 12 to 20 kilometers. The current interest is in using environmentally friendly composites with natural fibers and recycled materials in the context of InMob. But most importantly, we are currently focused on implementing supercapacitors with the long life and fast charge in the Life2M project as energy storage element with 20,000 cycles of life compared to the 1,000 cycles of life of Li-ion cells. And this is important because the LEONARDO vehicles will be used in life, also for sharing services. With this use, we would achieve a decrease in the disposal of materials like copper, graphite, lithium, aluminum, and plastics of 10% at the project end. And afterwards, after 5 years, we can achieve a decrease in 100% of the disposal of materials because the supercapacitors are still working. Then we have the potential to disrupt the urban micromobility industry in terms of having a novel microvehicle that is simpler to ride than mono wheels and more comfortable than kick scooters because of the large diameter wheel. We can use it as a substitute to alternative microvehicles or complement to less sustainable vehicles like buses, cars, being them with internal combustion engine or not. We have demonstration activities with 150 vehicles that will evidence use aspects needing a revision to attract the widest possible audience towards micromobility. And then for what regards the economic impact, we are performing studies in InMob to produce the first version ever envisioned of the vehicle at a lower cost, mainly the one with the hubless motor, also thanks to a motor manufacturer among the partners. We are thinking also about commercial exploitation and business plans because FRN Composite wants to manufacture 4,000 vehicles in 2025, increasing on 1,000 units each year for at least 5 years, also focusing on courtesy and touristic purposes. I take this chance to acknowledge all the partners and their hard and precious work. I would like to thank you for your attention and very looking forward to your questions.
Thank you. We will just take one question because the question will be at the end of the session and we are tight in time. So can you keep your question at the end of, yes? Okay, perfect. So I would like, thank you, Michelangelo. I would like to welcome now Jenny Pipuri Mekeleyan. So she's a doctor in science in electromechanics. She works as a principal scientist at VTT, so Technical Research Center of Finland, and she's a professor at Aalto University in Finland. She will present the project Reflective.
Okay, very good. Thanks a lot for the kind introduction, and I will indeed today present you the Reflective project, which is stands for Reconfigurable Light Electric Vehicle. And now I'm thinking that which button I should press. Woohoo! So first I will tell you some small things about our project. So we have a consortium that comprises of 9 partners from 8 countries. We have 3 large companies, one from Austria, TNE Drives, one from Germany, AVL, and IDIADA from Spain. In addition to that, we have 2 small or medium enterprises, Cyric from Cyprus, and then Auotech from Estonia. And lastly, but not least, we have 4 research partners, VTT from Finland, we are the coordinating partner, and we have Scire and Unicusano from Italy, and University of Ljubljana from Slovenia. And the grant that we got from the European Commission was in total approximately 6 million euros. And originally we were supposed to end the project by the end of last month, but we got a little bit of extension to do all the activities properly to the end. So now the project duration has been adjusted to 45 months, and we are expected to end by the end of October this year. And in case you would like to know something more, we of course have a web page and you can visit it. Then to the business. So what are the objectives of our project? So the key objective is provide something interesting for the urban mobility, and we are indeed developing a light electric vehicle. You can say it, for instance, like a heavy quadricycle, which is the L7 category that we are concentrating on. And to be more specific, the targets are that we could right-size the vehicles for the urban use cases. So what kind of vehicle size could be comfortable, what kind of components we should have on board to meet the requirements of the urban duty cycles and driving cycles. Moreover, we want the vehicle to be suitable for different operations. So what if, even if a small one, it could be fit for passenger transportation and good transportation with some novel features within the vehicle. Then one thing that was very, very important in the call, it was very emphasized, is the safety, because maybe the safety is the one thing that is really hindering the popularization of these small vehicles. We did a survey when we were preparing the application, and we found that none of the L7 category vehicles is meeting those Euro NCAP targets of 4 to 5 stars nowadays. I guess it's not a surprise to you, because you are experts in this room, but I just wanted to highlight it that we are targeting to have a very, very high structural safety for the vehicle as well, meeting the Euro NCAP 4 stars requirements. Of course, energy efficiency is something that everybody is speaking nowadays, and also the same applies very much to Reflective project as well. We want the powertrain to be as energy efficient as possible in order to reduce the energy consumption. This is of course super obvious, but very, very critical to all the projects. At least the presentations that I have been hearing up to so far, everybody is speaking about this, and for well-justified reasons. Moreover, the vehicle should be comfortable. You should be able to, execute the different urban use cases very fluently with what you have on board and how you integrate to the infrastructure that you are operating. Now I will go through the results of the project. I have 5 slides, and all of these are connected to the specific targets that I just explained. So let's begin with the right sizing. We actually began the project so that we started to study with simulations like what are really the mobility patterns that people have in the cities, and how those could be like investigated like via simulations. And for that we combined this kind of an activity-based transport modeling that is describing what kind of mobility patterns, where the people want to go, what kind of operations could support this need of moving, and then we combined that with microscopic simulation of vehicle operation. And we indeed found out in the cases of Helsinki capital area in Finland and Regensburg in Germany that the maximum trip distance was about like 50 kilometers, and also that the energy consumption was about from 80 to 110 watt hours per kilometer. So not very much of like battery capacity is needed on board based on the studies that we did. And I am happy to say that these have been completed. These actually were completed already the first time when I presented Reflective last year in this very same event. We are now preparing a publication, doing a revision of a publication in a quite high-level journal of these results. And I'm also happy to say that the similar methodology is used, for instance, in other projects. So STORM project, it was presented yesterday. It employed the same tools. And just to mention as well that VTT is selling these simulations as a service as well. So we have studied as well that, for instance, in some city, if you are electrifying the bus fleet, which has actually happened already quite a lot, we can study where you should have the chargers, what kind of vehicles could then be usable for the case, and so forth. Moving forward, so that I don't be too late with the timelines. So then one key element, of course, was the vehicle design, and this was done in cooperation with different partners. And it was this kind of an iterative process that, of course, we wanted to first to find out what kind of regulative limits we have. Then we chose the components, we did the packaging, we did the structural design, and then we did also in parallel this kind of safety simulations, like is it possible that with this design we will meet the Euro NCAP target that we have set to ourselves. So it was very much an iterative process between the different partners to end up with what you see in the pictures here on this slide. Unfortunately, we cannot yet show the vehicle to you today. It's in works, and it should be ready pretty soon for the demonstrations, but so far everything is looking quite good, and I'm actually personally also very excited to see how this vehicle in the end will look like. Also we are doing I want to say a couple of words of the status. So we are also doing at the moment, thanks to our partner IDIADA, this kind of a design review of the whole vehicle. So we are benchmarking or checking all the components, all the solutions done, how they correspond with the current regulation, because some of the features in the vehicle are such that they are not exactly fitting to the present regulations, namely this kind of an optional back seats, for instance, or rear seats into the vehicle. So we want to communicate and disseminate like this, that the choices we have made and how they match with the current regulation. If not, should maybe some actions be taken in the future if those that we have found prove out to be very useful in the end. And then also I want to mention that we share some certain elements with the URBANIZED project, which is presented later on today. So this is also very good. And as I mentioned, the structural safety is a very, very crucial element. A huge simulation campaign has been performed to meet the targets in the end. Here is one pretty nice simulation prepared by our colleagues from IDIADA. And in addition to those simulations, we have performed the first crash tests in order to validate the models and tune the models according to the actual crash test to validate how the materials selected perform in real life. And now the situation is such regarding the structural safety developments that the design has been completely frozen, and as I said, like the vehicles are in works, in preparation, and the final crash tests, the sledge, frontal and lateral crash test will take place latest in summer 24. And again, we have had a very good collaboration with URBANIZED project on this matter. Then about the powertrain. So we did quite a lot of work on the powertrain as well. So it was specifically designed for this vehicle, but we wanted to take into account a bit that how it could be like scaled up a bit to a bit bigger vehicle or a smaller one if you prefer. And we did quite a lot of investigation of the appropriate voltage level, for instance, because we have also the wireless charger on board, and for that it's very good to pick up a bit higher voltage level in order to have a good efficiency for the solution. And all in all, the powertrain, of course, comprises of a battery, inverter, electric motor, and the chargers, both conductive and wireless. And we specifically did quite a lot of work on the motor development. So the motor the reflective electric motor has been designed and manufactured by the consortia. And at the time when we applied this project, we thought that that's the component where we maybe can make the biggest impact given the budget and all the activities that are involved in this project activity. And we wanted to also to take this kind of a sustainability angle, and we didn't go for a permanent magnet, rare earth permanent magnet motor solution, but instead we opted for an induction machine. It's both from the reducing use of the magnets, but also from the point of view that maybe this could be quite cost efficient solution in the end. And what else? And indeed, there was the target for the increase of the energy efficiency, and at the moment we have measured the powertrain, the full powertrain in the laboratory. You can see our colleagues there in the lab performing the measurements. We had the vehicle control unit, the battery, the inverter, the motor, the chargers, and we found out that for the powertrain the efficiency was in the range of 88%, the maximum one, which is quite good. And in the end, now that we are approaching the demonstration phase, we will definitely measure it properly, and we will benchmark it against a reference vehicle, how big of an improvement we in the end made. I'm also happy to say that the status today is such that the powertrain is ready for integration to the vehicle. It's now in Tallinn in Estonia, and our colleagues in Estonia are putting the vehicle together. And then this is the final slide on the results. So regarding the comfort and usability, we wanted to explore a bit what it could mean if we would have not only the conductive charger, but also the wireless charger to cater to different environments and use cases. And especially on the part of the wireless charger, you can maybe imagine some autonomous operations where you can just easily park the car with or the vehicle to the charger. You can charge it, you don't need to intervene at all, and then when you are charged, you can just drive away and so forth. And of course, this can happen in autonomous mode as well. So for that reason, we wanted to explore in a limited manner the autonomous driving as well. So what it could mean if the vehicle is really accurately able to park on the charger and then continue its trip to cater some microbus operation or whatever you can imagine to do, what kind of urban use case you want to cater with autonomous driving capable small vehicle. So these are some some aspects on the comfort and usability that we want to explore with this reflective vehicle platform. And I'm happy to say that the charging system as whole, as I mentioned already, it has been tested, and also the autonomous driving system is ready for integration. But I also want to mention that maybe some of you are thinking already that, oh my goodness, this is so small vehicle and you have so many functionalities there. I imagine that this thought crossed your mind, and I don't wonder, but we wanted to like explore the possibilities, and in the end, if you don't see use of the wireless charging or the autonomous driving for your use case, you can definitely drop them out. So it's not always that you have to have everything on in the vehicle on board. But for our purposes, for the project purposes, we still want to explore this. And then I will go towards my last 2 slides. So indeed, the vehicles are in works, and we did not yet have the chance to do all the demonstrations that we are planning, but we are approaching that point with the project. And as I said, we have the crash test, we have the controlled measurements at the chassis dyno, and the autonomous driving in VTT premises and areas in Tampere, Finland. And then also we have quite interesting like demonstrations like in the cities. So in Helsinki, we were able to engage Posti, which is a big delivery company operator in Finland, to test the vehicle in the newly built area of Kalasatama in Helsinki. So Posti will take the vehicle in use for a couple of weeks. They will use it for the postal parcel and also for some package parcel later on. And I wish that we will get a industrial, commercial operator perspective as well of the vehicle, how they perceive it, was it useful, what kind of benefits there were. So this is very exciting opportunity, I would say. Then we have the shared usage of the vehicle by like AVL employees in Regensburg, Germany. Of course, because this is not a fully homologated vehicle, we just cannot give it to anyone, and keeping this in mind, we had to prepare some meaningful demonstrations for the vehicle. But then we have the commercial one, and then we have the project partner demonstrations. And regarding now, I'm approaching to the impact. So we hope that these demonstrations will bring in very, very interesting information of the vehicle characteristics, its usability, and what is the overall perception of this kind of a concept. And also it will a lot support us in finalization of the IPR and exploitation plan, because this is something that we are currently doing. And we can foresee that there could be new European projects, or there could be licensing, but maybe the dream would be that this could be a product one day. Of course, I understand completely that it requires a lot of product development activities to make it an actual product, but nothing is impossible. So we are now exploring really the options, how the partners of the consortium could employ the results for the benefit of all of us, hopefully, but also what kind of different strategies and routes there are. And then also, one important thing I also mentioned, the design review activities. I hope that we can produce this kind of information to all of us to define the future regulations, like what kind of vehicles we could have rolling on our streets and what could be beneficial and things like that. And I assure that we will take this seriously and try to deliver the results and the outcomes of this to all of you, to support the support the Commission and so forth in the next actions. Then this is sort of feels like long-term impact. This sort of feels this light a bit that you have seen this maybe before as well, because of course what we would like to bring with this project is fewer emissions, reduced energy consumption, better utilization of resources. So if we could have smaller vehicles with smaller battery capacities, with intensified usage of the vehicles, we could definitely save a lot of resources in the process, and energy as well. Hopefully we could have reduced traffic congestion in the cities and also improved road safety. These are quite big targets, but like it can happen. Let's make it happen. And with these words, I would like to end my presentation. So thanks a lot. I'd be very happy to answer your questions and discuss also after the session with you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Jenny. So now we will welcome Oliver La. He's the director of UEMI, so Urban Electric Mobility Initiative, and he's also adjunct professor at the Blaking Institute of Technology. He will present the SOLUTIONSplus project.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And it's the third presentation. I know it's a dimmed light. It's a bit more, morning. I hope you had, had a good coffee. So it's lovely to see you all here. And this project is in its final few months. It pains me to say, but it was a long and fantastic journey. We still continue until June this year. We are quite a big family. It's 49 consortium members. It's well over 200 individuals involved in the project. It's over 100 associated partners in the cities and the regions. Quite a diverse group from industry, from networks, from NGOs, from entrepreneurs, from knowledge partners, and quite a diverse mix of cities in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and Europe. And we take a little bit the New York approach here. So if we can make it there, we can make it everywhere. With regard to e-mobility solutions, because we focus on almost everything that rolls, basically everything except the individual car. So we take quite a systemic approach to our decarbonization pathways here. While we do focus on the technologies when it comes to the development of the vehicles, the integration of it, we then also have a big focus on the services in which they are being used and the infrastructures that are needed to sustain them. And of course, we have a big focus on the users, so it's a user-centric approach that we take here. And as a key element to that, we look at the heart of it as the capacities from the perspectives of the urban planners that need to build them into the system, the public transport operators that need to integrate the services and the various vehicles. So it doesn't really make sense to just bring in the technology and then hope this will emerge and sustain. So this is why a long whole focus on the capacities and sustaining those is a critical element to that. At the local and national level, we also reflect back then, of course, into the local and national policy and planning perspectives, and I'll touch on that when we dive in deeper into each of our cities. So we take a step-by-step approach. We started off with sharing information on all the e-mobility solutions that are out there, and then inspiring local entrepreneurs and local authorities and public transport operators with examples from others who have succeeded with those solutions. And once we did that, so we grasped the first ideas and brought them together in a comprehensive package. Then we bring together a partnership of local entrepreneurs, of public authorities, of civil society, of local knowledge institutions to implement the demonstrations. So we test the vehicles that are being developed, we co-develop the vehicles. It depends a little bit on the development space at which we are. Sometimes we start at the very first idea of the vehicle. Sometimes we have the vehicle and continue with the services of those and the integration of the services. And once we've did that, we validated the service. Then we focus on the big impact, so the scaled up project that can really make a transformative change to the transportation system. So we had, of course, a couple of milestones as we run through the project. So we started with the e-mobility toolbox, which is sort of our knowledge repository, which will also continue long-term with our sister project run by the Global Environment Facility. And of course, our capacity building activities were sort of a starter in the program where we nurtured the ideas and lured people into e-mobility solutions that can make a transformative change. But it also helped us throughout the project to go forth and back and forth on the different solutions that we're testing, on creating the capacities to take up the solutions, and then of course also later on to get the grips on the scaled up solutions that are being taken forward by local partners, not by us. So we had different formats of the capacity building activities, and all of this was being centered on the demonstration activities. Quite a diverse mix of cities, as I said. So let's start in Asia. Maybe here just some examples of the demonstrations that we have. So for example, Pasig in Metro Manila, we had a very interesting case with a fairly advanced local startup called Tojo Motors, who developed that blue vehicle that you see here. It started with a co-development process both with the local authority, the city of Pasig, where they used one version of that for local utility services, and the local parcel delivery service for a different version of that vehicle, and the public transport cooperatives. So this is more informal transportation that is being used in of a yet different version of this vehicle. So it's the same basis and quite a diverse mix of use cases that this is being used for. And here also the feedback loop to the European industry. Of course, it's a 2-0 partnership project here. So we would like to have also some feedback loop to that. And in this case, for example, our friends from Tojo Motors received the powertrain from Valeo. And they managed to develop the battery management system and the controller, etc., all locally and integrate that. So that was good, but then during the demonstration they realized that this motor was not made for tropical weather. So in that temperature it's just running too hot. So that's a reflection. The new version is not. And similarly also in monsoon weather, it needs to be sustaining basically to be fully submerged into water, which of course also from a European perspective that was not anticipated. So the new version of that motor does take that into account. So there is a direct feedback loop to entering into new markets. And of course, you know, the markets that we are looking at are almost 2/3 of the population of the globe. So there's quite a big market in there. So going over maybe to Kathmandu. So you see here at the picture a very old electric vehicle that was introduced in Kathmandu in the late 1990s by a development cooperation project called, it's a Safa Tempo, so it's a slow ride, silent. And that was a good start, but then for almost 20 years this idea slept and was not developed further. So the technology, the vehicle became slow and more of a nuisance rather than a contribution. So we revamped that with, in the same here as well, also with Valeo powertrains. Here the same thing, they received the powertrains. However, there the capacities were not sufficient to set up the full, integrate the full motor themselves. So they needed quite a bit more helping hands to make that happen. And we also realized that the environment, the policy environment in Nepal is actually quite favorable with regard to the import of electric vehicles. However, from our perspective of creating an e-mobility industry in the country, it was not so, because for the components you still pay a lot of import tax and extra costs that come in. So an important feedback loop also to the national policy level. If you want to make local industry working here, you need to adjust the operating environment quite a bit. So These are the reflections that we have from the demonstrations, and they go at various sizes and forms. In Latin America, cargo bikes were a reoccurring feature in Quito and in Montevideo, for example. The vehicle here that you see here, that integrated a newly developed package around the powertrain from Valeo that included basically all the components that are vital for, let's say, capacities that are similar to the case of Kathmandu. So it includes a controller and key other components that make it much easier for local entrepreneurs to take up the solution. In Kigali and in Dar es Salaam, so in Rwanda and Tanzania, we worked on electric 2- and 3-wheelers, but also on various business models. So here, for example, you see a group of women who are taxi drivers of those electric motorcycles. And the vehicle itself is quite advanced, the battery, the powertrain, but then there are some components that also only just emerge once you test that. For example, small changes to the life of the woman that is driving that bike and the woman that is using the bike is just, if you just slightly adjust the seat a bit, it's slightly more comfortable for both the passenger as well as the driver if they don't get too cozy with the passengers. So that's a small element that also emerges alongside many others. Bike sharing happening in Kigali, servicing the public transport. And we're also taking some of the bikes now further in the outskirts of Kigali, where they are used as bicycle taxis, which, as you can imagine, it's quite a hard work to use a normal bike as a taxi. So an e-bike is quite a welcome contribution to that service. In Hamburg, we tried to turn around a service that's considered to be a nuisance every now and then, the kick scooters, where they are being used in the outskirts of Hamburg to service the metro lines, which has been quite a successful case. And some very small regulatory specialities in the German system make this reference point very popular in Germany. I hear from Hamburg that they are getting calls every now and then from other cities who want to learn more about that specific parking spot that you see there. Apparently, that is normally not allowed in Germany. So that's Hamburg was a front runner on that. And also on the incentive scheme that was behind it, a high-speed charging solution that has been tested in Madrid, in Spain, that boosts the efficiency of the public transport operations quite a bit. So lots has happened in this rather vast and diverse project. Our investment into the capacities will take us further, well beyond the lifetime of the project. So we are integrating all of our learnings into local knowledge hubs. We've digested all the learnings, the blueprints into knowledge products. And the impact assessment in particular was a critical element also at the beginning already, where we co-developed the KPIs together with the local authorities, so with the key partners that are also needing to take the solutions further. So of course, sustainability can address a lot of objectives, but it was critical for us to identify the key objectives that they would like to address and then adjust the service, the logic, but also just the language that we're using in the design of the project. So sometimes it comes from a safety perspective, sometimes it comes from a climate perspective or from an accessibility perspective, and we provide the right language and support and evidence to that, so that the policy dialogue at the local, national, and international level can be supported by that. So from those first demonstration projects, we had another 20 replication actions that were being initiated. So other entrepreneurs in other cities taking up similar solutions, learning from their peers, also sharing, of course, the good and the bad and the challenges with them to make it easier for them. So these reference cases are now essential for us to sprawl even further into the environment to make it as easy as possible for entrepreneurs to take up all these different types of vehicles and services that are being used with them. And then, of course, we need to translate this back into local and national policy. And we've done so in different formats. Of course, we also feed this back into what does this mean for the EU to be active in the international cooperation field. This is, of course, a rather vast basket of experiences that we can feed into the 2.0 partnership, the air truck partnership. And we do that together with CSA's Strengthen and Le Measurer and others. And from the midterm perspective, so maybe I'll just take it one step at a time, but we've established the partnerships that can take the solutions further, various of which have already, let's say, leveled off and gone on their own with regard to taking up new partnerships on the further development, further provision of certain components to a vehicle, so that their successful business models will run on their own and the partnerships will grow on their own. And then, of course, at the local and national level as well, each of the demonstration projects, so the core 9 demonstration cities, Nanjing is sort of self-financed, and it's a bit of a different kettle of fish there, but the core 9 have already some climate and development cooperation projects added to them that take SOLUTIONSplus further. And of course, we're also trying to institutionalize our key bit, the capacity building, into the Urban Living Lab Center. So that's a UN Habitat collaborating center that is being embedded at over 20 partner universities now at the moment, where we focus on the, let's say, the engineering, the planning, study components at the universities, but also linked to the technical and vocational training schools in the countries and the region, so that we integrate all the learnings that we have from SOLUTIONSplus and that they can be embedded into the curricula so that they can be sustained. And with our friends from UN Environment and the Global Environment Facility, we integrated all the learnings from SOLUTIONSplus into the global working groups that they are running on different components of the e-mobility system. And there are also regional investment platforms that are taking further those activities that we've started, so that over the long term we can see replications of the SOLUTIONSplus actions from those regional platforms, but also a more coordinated funding and financing support from the cities and the national governments that take further those solutions. The institutionalization is starting already, so we hope that this is being long-term embedded into an even wider range of knowledge institutions across the region. So this is our current focus here as well, to nurture that process through train the trainer, train the lecturer sort of activities. And then at the country and national level, we are seeing already that the synergies are being made through this to climate action and development cooperation projects, where with SOLUTIONSplus we managed basically to de-risk some of the investments that development banks can then take further in more longer term and large scale projects. And then, of course, the industrial collaboration activities, we hope to take that further as well. And of course, for that, there are also some follow-up activities and ongoing projects on the development cooperation and climate action, but also in the Horizon programs, like in the EBRT 2030 program, for example, Giants and others, where some of the collaboration activities are being continued, so that we can really have a long-term impact on the transformation across all the regions and create lots of sustainable jobs in the long run. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So now we have a 30 minutes Q&A session.
We have some feedback here. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, we have 30 minutes for questions and answers. And I think I would start the Q&A session with one comment and one observation from my side. The significance of this meeting this morning and the significance of our projects, I would say, is strongly supported by the recent election in Paris, or vote in Paris, regarding what do people want in their cities. We know that the results of the election were a slight majority, but a majority of people don't want to have the SUVs in the cities. So they're raising the parking rates by a factor of 3 or more. So it could cost, I think, over 200 euro per day to park your car in Paris, if it's over a certain size. So I think as we look at these new concepts, these new ideas, this fits perfectly to our conference and to this session this morning. So we started the session with a kick scooter, which is the new version. In the past, I think what we've seen are basically somebody took it from the sporting goods store and put it on the street and said, here's our concept. But now we have something that's been developed really for use, and it's been developed with somebody thinking about what are the demands, what are the needs for the scooter. And the next presentation was on the reconfigurable, the reflective. Very nice presentation on how can I make a compact car as flexible as possible. And what's really nice about that presentation was, what I liked about that was the close collaboration with URBANIZED. And that's exactly what I think we also need in the European projects, where the projects are really collaborating with each other, exchanging ideas, and learning from each other. So it's the networking aspects, as this is will nod to. And finally, the SOLUTIONSplus gives us the global galactic view of if we're going to do this, say, in a small form in Europe, what can this mean on a global scale? What can we see? How can we have an impact on places around the world, say the global south, and also learn something from them about how to progress here. So, and I think the final comment from my side in terms of starting the Q&A, and what I'd really like to do here is if we can get into a dialogue, no monologues from me, but a dialogue here with some good questions and some good answers. And that is, one of the ambitions here is not to cannibalize, say, public transportation systems with things like this, but to find a way to, let's say, I like the word better, right size. Some might say it's downsizing. So if I take a big vehicle, how can I get the same usage out of a smaller vehicle, but right sized? So that's kind of the philosophy that we should be following here, is not really taking people that were ahead before here on a bus and now putting them on a scooter, but saying, let's make the system synergetic. Okay, with that, I'm going to ask for questions from the audience. I think we had one over here. The first hand, you were the first in the line, so we need the microphone.
Hey, good morning. Fabian Walenczak from German car part supplier ElectricMobility. I have a question regarding the LEONARDO scooter. So I was wondering whether you examined also the crash behavior of the scooter, because in my opinion it's like the center of gravity is quite in the front and like at a higher level. So for me, it kind of seems like that if you have a crash, you just like flip to the front like you do with a normal scooter. So I was wondering whether you also took a look at these at this point.
Okay, sorry. Thank you for your question. We did not include a specific study on this, but for sure we know what will be the aspects where we can ameliorate the vehicle, or else. Thanks also to the organization of campaigns of in-depth investigation of accidents. We can know, for example, that almost injuries, at least in Saxony, so in Germany, where we have a very interesting sample to analyze. We have the majority of the injuries at the upper extremities. And so I think that, apart from head, obviously, I think that we have some insights. We are preparing some papers on this to create some solutions for this. Not at the moment. We have no plans, at least in the project, to do so. But for sure, with the prosecution of the activities also for the production of several thousands of vehicles, so we will have to do so. Okay. Thank you for your question.
More questions? Patrick, and then Sissis.
Hello, I'm Patrick Mercier from the European Commission. I wanted to ask a question to Jenny on the reflective project. Thank you very much for your presentation. I have a question and then a comment, in fact. So the question is more related to safety, in fact. You did some crash tests with your vehicles. Was the result effective, and were you happy with the result in that sense? And then I will give my comments. Thank you.
Okay. So far, we have not executed the final crash tests, so they are coming this year, and we will definitely let you know how it went. But the campaign to maximize the structural safety has been quite extensive. So I have some IDIADA colleagues in the room, and they have done an excellent job with the other partners to ensure the crash safety. But the crash tests are coming, so okay. Stay tuned. But please.
Thank you very much, because just for your information, we are discussing at the moment with the 2.0 partnerships, possibly a new type of vehicle category. You know very well that we have the L7 category, we have M1, but we are in a way missing M0 type of category vehicles linked with the potential new regulations. So we will launch very soon a study around that, and maybe also some research activities related to all these safety aspects, related to that important domain, and we thank you very much for your input that you could give to these activities. Thank you.
Sissis.
Thank you. This is Amaras, Aristotle University. My question goes also to the reflective project, Professor Puri. I have two questions, actually. One is, have you taken into account life cycle analysis into the design of the vehicle, as well as total cost of ownership? I mean, do you have an idea of both? One question is this. And the second question is more for my information. 88% of energy efficiency of the powertrain is a good number, but it's not an exceptional number. It's, how can it be 10% better than today? I mean, how do you make this calculation? Is 10% of the 88%, or is 10% absolute? So can you give us an idea how you make this calculation?
Oh my goodness, very difficult question. So let me give it a try. First one, like the LCA and total cost of ownership. To be perfectly honest, we have not done a formally, let's say, standardized LCA analysis for this vehicle. So it was out of the scope of the project. But we sort of tried to make choices that could be sustainable and also like affordable. So for instance, if you notice the battery pack that we are putting into the vehicle, it's only 15 kilowatt hours, which we think that it will cater the use cases that we are looking at in these urban scenarios. And also, like as I mentioned, okay, small battery, also fewer materials for that, and also for the electric motor, we opted for the induction motor for the specific reason to get rid of the permanent magnet materials, the rare earth permanent magnet materials. Is this like okay, not okay, average reply?
I would prefer numbers, but it's...
Indeed. And I will bear this in mind in the possible next occasions. And then the second question, it was about the energy efficiency, right? So we are actually planning to measure at the chassis dyno the Renault Twizy as well, to have a comparable figures for the energy efficiency. We know definitely that the number that I gave is not super high. Definitely for the permanent magnet motor powered vehicles, you can go up. But maybe here is justified to compromise a bit to get the benefits on the costs and reduction of the rare earth critical materials. So this is the reasoning. And I maybe shouldn't say, but I'm quite optimistic that in its category, our powertrain can be quite good, hopefully better. But my reasoning is that we are not like competing against like Teslas or anything like that. We are competing against the small vehicles at the market. Again. Okay, I promise numbers next year, if you still allow me to come here. But okay, thanks.
Sissy, we can also look at the numbers for the next session, part 2 of session 1 this morning from URBANIZED. So let's wait for that presentation. We have a question in the back, but please wait for the microphone. There's a hand up.
Good morning. Thanks for the presentations. Sietske Halsvaart from TNO. I again have a question to the reflective project. So yes, you're working towards 10% improvement of the efficiency. I wonder what logistical context you assume for that. Is that the current status, or will it replace other transportation in the neighborhood or in the towns? So how do you connect to this current logistical context? So any change, for example, in urban policy on the logistics in the last mile would change the payload of your vehicles a lot. And how do you take this into account?
Okay, this is in fact also a really nice question, and it can steer a bit the measurements that we are executing, because those measurements are coming. So we could explore, for instance, for some given cycle, some standardized cycle, and then also from some cycles that we created during the project, we could do the comparison between an existing vehicle at the market at the time about when the project was granted funding, and we could compare that to reflective and really find out what is the difference in the efficiency. So again, unfortunately, I cannot give you an exact number, and maybe you were not asking that either, but I take this as a very, very valuable input for the future activities that we will soon initiate on the measurements. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, is that David back there? And then Pietro.
Yeah, good morning, David Storer, Research Innovation Director at CLEPA, the Association of Suppliers. So it's kind of a comment and a question at the same time. So from what you were saying, Jenny, about the fact that you're not trying to compete against Tesla, the implication is that this is going to be a relatively niche segment. So my question also relates to what Patrick was saying. Is that going to be the case, or do we see that the real take-up is going to happen of this type of vehicle when the established vehicle manufacturers extend their range into this segment? And have you seen any real interest from the established vehicle manufacturers, either in Europe or in other regions around the world, for this type of vehicle? Because I think what we're talking about is something of a revolution, in a way, of how vehicles are going to be designed and conceived, particularly for urban use. And I guess at some point this is going to strike a resonance with the vehicle manufacturers. So do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, this is like a, how could I answer, like if I may say a personal comment first, I truly think that this kind of vehicle could serve my daily like purposes of dropping my kid to preschool and going to the office and coming back. And now it's maybe a question to all of us that, of course, we need to provide something that is competitive in some sense to those very, very luxurious present cars on the market. But there are, in the end of the day, persons who cannot afford those. And and also who want to choose differently for some other reason. I'm not saying like all the supreme cars on the market are absolutely fantastic, and I don't want to, but we have different needs. Like the users have different needs, and maybe it's now like time for all of us to think like we need the premium ones, but then also the affordable ones to serve the whole community of people in Europe. So, short answer, since of course VTT is a research and technology organization, but maybe I could also ask from our partner, Auetech, have they been contacted? What kind of discussions they maybe are having and things like that? And then I could maybe share this information. But like personally, I have not contacted, at least not yet, but hopefully it could happen one day, or especially that someone could contact like Auetech.
Could I just, as the microphone is just next to me, just add to that from the international perspective, because basically these types of vehicles are running around in the hundreds of thousands, even millions in, let's say, our partner countries, right? So even, mostly in the secondary cities, they are basically carrying the vast majority of public transport even. So if we have these kind of highly energy efficient vehicles, and then they are being shared and used for public transport, then we have, the multitude of efficiencies coming all together. So that exchange, would love to basically get this back to Europe as well. If we could have a similar diverse, energy efficient public transport logistics system here as well, that would be quite desirable. And the Paris example is a very startling one that pushes in that right direction of right sizing from the city's perspective when the national level is not quite there yet.
Thank you, David. Very good question. That was actually one on my list of questions to ask, so I checked it off now. But I think it's an important aspect is what is the, in terms of the impact and making a difference, where are the investors, where are the people that actually want to implement this in big style? And if you think about it, you also have to put it in a relation. The world is producing somewhere between 90 and 100 million vehicles per year. So we have to, this is the target. If we want to have an impact, we have to find the way to the mainstream, and that's why attractive concepts like this, the kick scooter, the reflective, the things that happen in SOLUTIONSplus around the world, making these attractive for use here, and then looking at the urban areas and asking them, how do you want to change it? How do you want to move back to giving the urban area back to the citizen, so to speak? That's why these projects are so valuable. Even if we do them again and again, we're getting there step by step. I think that was really a good comment here from Oliver. It's really it's a step-by-step approach. So each block, each building block is really important here. And I think if I combine this with the discussion yesterday, user-centric charging, then we have a combination that we need from the 2.0 perspective. So there's more questions. Lots of questions. Pietro, you're next. But Pietro, keep it short.
Yes, just difficult to be short. But there's three main issues now. Safety first. Okay, I just tested recently 2 L7 vehicles. I said, Mamma mia, this is good for my mother-in-law, but certainly not for my daughter. Okay, certainly. So I can justify what you said, Jamie, because crash test means full frontal, off-axis, side, pole test, and torsional test as well. So you need to develop quasi-final vehicles for all of these tests. You are already justified for what you will present. Okay. The second point is sustainability. If you develop a vehicle with lots of composites and plastic, Jan already said, if you develop 1, 2, it's fine. But if you develop 1 million, you have to explain where you will put all these composites, because they are very unsustainable. Okay. The third is that we are competing in this world. Price. You have also to explain how you manufacture this in a competitive way with the Chinese. Okay? So safety, sustainability, and final price. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Pedro. Very good. And there's a question back here.
Thank you. Hello, Ron Kuhn, SAE International. My question is about implementation and user of the micro-mobility vehicles. I use them a lot, actually, and when I'm traveling, one of the things that I notice is that all the cities have different policies, regulations. It's quite unclear. In an ideal world, how would you see that all those cities have similar regulations, or at least is it from consumer and user behavior clear what you are allowed to do on the road?
That's for me. Okay. I think that's for me, the question. Okay, it's quite complicated. I know. In reality, we have a lot of regulations in Europe and in the different cities. For example, in Italy, different cities try to apply different regulations, but they are not allowed to. So they try, they, let's say, fail, because they are required to give some indications to why they chose such a way. But it's very difficult to harmonize all these aspects in a country, in a single nation, and for sure in Europe it would be complicated, very complicated. I don't know what to respond exactly, because I see a lot of regulations throughout Europe, and the world is changing very fast. Every day there is a news about some regulations that apply, that do not apply. It's quite complicated. No full response for this. We can only start.
So we all talk about the technical implementation possibilities and whatever, but it starts with having people actually know how to do and where to park. And this is not only for the scooters, but also for the city cars. I live in Amsterdam and I see them, they can park on the pavement. They can drive on the bicycle path. So I think that we have to come up with a strong voice here as well to see who is making the regulations, who provides those guidelines, and how does this work in a society.
Yeah.
So there is certainly room for harmonization, but we have also to apply certain rules for certain cities, and not everything can be harmonized. So there is also the localities, the use, the specificities of the cities that we are also up to the governance, local government to decide.
Yes, thank you. And that's also the reason why we're here. Where else can you come together and discuss these things? Where else can you have an impact? You can have a direct communication with the Commission. We can input these things. And we can, most of all, and this is what was in the session yesterday, is do we understand the user's needs? Don't forget, we are the citizens here. We are the people that can have an impact. So and this is the platform for collecting data. This is the platform for trying these new concepts out. Otherwise, there's no chance. And that's the selling point, the unique selling point of 2.0. Patrick, I know it didn't inspire you.
Just a comment on that. I think cities are different on different scale, different size, and does not fit to all. An important aspect for the cities in the future will be also the better use of urban spaces. So this is something that we have certainly to look at in the future research activities, including e-charging solution, etc. I wanted to ask a question to Oliver on the solution project, which I followed from the beginning. One of the objectives of the project was, of course, to decarbonize transport in Europe and in outside countries. And the second one was to also support the competitiveness of the European industry. I would like to know, in that sense, were you successful in that sense, or do you see potential for international cooperation in the future as well for our European companies? Also, the market is global, and European companies are everywhere in the world as well. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Patrick. Much appreciated. As is your support throughout the project, for sure. So, I mean, maybe starting on the decarbonization path and also just, recognizing the shift in the debate that we're currently having, right? A couple of years back with Fridays for Future was very positive dynamics towards climate action. This has turned quite a bit, and that's why we're also giving it a much more positive spin, because the way we are looking at decarbonization of transport is it's a job creation engine, it's an industrial development engine, it's for the improvement of our life in cities and accessibility and opportunities for everyone. So we're highlighting the whole breadth of the benefits that sustainable mobility can unleash, and decarbonization is one of them. But we also do want to be ready for, let's say, political volatility, let's say, in the leadership of our partner cities or countries. So that's why we focus on the job creation and opportunities bit a bit. That brings me to that second point. Indeed, it is true that many, let's say, products from the European industry that are currently on the market are not necessarily fit for purpose for developing and emerging economies. So feeding that back to both the perspectives of the OEMs, so the finished products, as well as the components, is quite critical to create partnerships between cities and countries, entrepreneurs and industry, so that we can co-develop solutions that are fit for purpose for the countries where we have mutual benefits, right? For the European industry, who develop critical elements that are not necessarily readily available in the partner markets. Many of our entrepreneurs in the partner countries are quite desperate to find the right powertrain, the right battery, the right controller to get the vehicle going. So European partners could be the better alternative, let's say, to Chinese competitors, because we do facilitate that exchange, which is not necessarily happen in that same level with Chinese suppliers who are, where you basically buy it on Amazon. You don't have a feedback loop, but here you do. And then, of course, also for the OEMs, for public transport in developing countries, we need the 100,000 euro e-bus, basically, and it's readily available from China, and it's not from Europe. So we'll have to think simple, frugal, and fit for purpose, and that's what we're trying to make a contribution to.
Thank you, Oliver. I think we've almost gotten to 10:30, which is the time for the break. Yes, 10:30. One last quick question. Yo. And then we'll take a break.
I'll be very fast. I'm very
you.
partial. I'm the PO for some of these projects. So it's more of a general question, maybe to finish. The first R of the 4 R's is to reduce. So we heard about recycling, the plastics, the composites, and so on. How can these urban and suburban vehicles, by definition being smaller, can help us in the first R into reduce the usage of materials, reduce the usage of components, or because they are cheaper, will people just buy 2 instead of buying 1 big vehicle? So this is my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Short answer.
Sorry if I got the question correctly. So how then people that we don't like just have multiple vehicles because you can afford those? This was the key point, right? This is also a pretty difficult question in that sense, that how we can really influence like the people behavior and their like what kind of like I would say that maybe a reasonable person, as we all should be. I don't buy 2 cell phones because I could. I can live with just one. So I think that we need to rely on the common sense of the persons, in that sense that an individual will not like purchase several vehicles because it's affordable. But also maybe you were referring to that how we can support this kind of a shared vehicle approaches and things like that. And this is also one thing that we should pay attention in the future, that what could make the shared vehicle concept to boom? Maybe something that you can have it in your, what is this, when you are living in an apartment, you could have some shared concept there, or you could have an autonomous relocation of the vehicle to the user of the vehicle at the time he or she needs that. So I think there are quite many routes that we can take. We can try to influence the persons, and then we can also try to cater ways to use the vehicles more efficiently that we have already rolling on the roads. Is this okay? Okay, thanks.
Jenny. Okay, let's go and Jenny for the answer. And I think it's also the aspect of involving the user-centric. So everything we do in the future really has to be surrounding this. What is the interest of the user, and how do we basically bring the concepts to the user and meet the user's needs? So let's close for a break. You have 28 minutes, maybe 27. Please come back at 11:30, I think. No, 11. Coffee break to 11:30. We start at 11:30. Or am I on?
It's 11:50. So please be back at 10:50.